Hey, this is Taryn from accounting, and you're checking out the 3 Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion, roll with compassion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. That's right. And by now, 200 something episodes, you would say with me, I am your Sherpa. Or, how my camera will just not acknowledge me right now. If you guys are watching this live, you guys will know that my camera just shut off. But anyway, like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this person at LPW, SOS, WrestleCore, RCW, and PWA. She is here to check the books to make sure that they're right. He is also our first guest from Canada, and she is Taryn from accounting.
Hey, and you'll hear him. I brought him inside. We've also got Austin in the background.
Awesome. So this is definitely a pet-friendly podcast because I know a lot of people are like, what? I'm like, nah, man, we love dogs. Like, that's what we do. And anybody who's paid attention to our podcast knows, like, hey, like, they are definitely about, after we lost our dog back in May, we adopted another one. So I was like, yeah, welcome all pets.
Sweet.
So, one, thank you for coming on the show. I definitely appreciate this.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to kind of be moving around. I didn't have like time to set up and everything. So I'm just like trying to organize.
With this podcast alone, like, because we do it like remotely, right? Like we've had this podcast pop up like while people were driving. Don't do that, right? We've had people who like were on vacation and wanted to jump on and do it. Like, okay, that's fine. So it's kind of like it's been around. It's been crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're always like loving to have everybody come on the show. So definitely it's kind of cool because like I said, like you are our first guest from Canada, so we definitely are very much appreciative of that. We get to go hang out with our neighbors in the north. But I gotta ask the big question. Who is Taryn from accounting?
Who is she?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dog owner. Yeah, I'm a wrestler out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I'm a dog mom. Yeah.
Awesome. I love dogs because like we had a husky pit mix who we had for like 13 years when my wife and I first met. And we've been married for 12. We've been married for 12. We dated for a year and we had Duke in the process of like being around. So it was definitely kind of crazy to see like him transition with us. And then, we just recently lost him, but we adopted another dog who's this chocolate lab beagle type mix. And yeah, McCoy's been like the joy to our world. So we definitely are a big dog family as well over here.
I just met her. She's so cute. I love the way she was hugging you.
Yeah. So that's what actually won me over with her was that when we first met her, because I told my wife, I was like, we can go see her. If it doesn't work out, It's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a couple hours. But when I wasn't paying attention, she put her paws up on my legs and then she like put her face in my face. And I was like, you can come home with us.
Yeah.
Like she won me over.
I want to start fostering dogs, but like I just know that once I start, I won't be able to stop. And like I want to take them all home.
Yeah, it was crazy because like she's okay. So McCoy is such a beautiful dog that I couldn't believe that nobody really wanted her. But it was because I guess people weren't clicking on the link to see her and they didn't know that she was available. So either it was like a dead link or just someone wasn't, but we just so happened to get lucky enough to be able to adopt her. And like I said, she's only 3, so we're gonna have her for quite a long time. And yeah, she's a lot of fun to be around. She's very smart.
So cute. I hated dogs. I didn't hate dogs, but I just wasn't a dog person.
Yeah.
And then, because Austin's a COVID puppy, obviously, you just get like bored and you're like, well, I spend so much time at home. Now I'm obsessed with dogs. Like, I love them.
I feel like that's like the natural trend. Not everybody, but sometimes like people go out of their way and they're like, hey, I wanna adopt this dog, and then like because I've heard a lot of horror stories. I'm glad that you actually kept yours because I've heard a lot of horror stories, at least here in the U.S. Right, where people they get done with COVID, right? Well, they think they're done, quote unquote, with COVID, and they just give their dogs back to the adoption center, and then like the adoption centers get overwhelmed, and then you're like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, you said you want to take this dog on, you kept it for like 10 months and then gave it back. Like,
That's
yo,
crazy to me. I couldn't imagine. Like, he's so fucking annoying. But I just like, I love him so much. My boo-boo.
well, it's funny too because like dogs, like they, people always talk about all the time, like I choose them, they choose me, but y'all end up just like choosing each other. And then like if one connection doesn't work out, like it doesn't work out. It's no biggie. But when you take on a responsibility, you're like, I'm gonna make this dog a part of my life, like, and you're just like, 6 months in, you're like, nah, I'm just done with it. I'm like, bro, what? They're not. Like, you gotta care.
It's like, oh, they know. I couldn't imagine. Ooh.
That's why I get mad with people, like, at least here, and I say that lovingly in the United States, that people think that it's just fun to just like do these, like, hey, we bought our kid a puppy for Christmas, and then like in January they realize like, well, we can't really take care of this dog, so we're just gonna give it to the adoption center. Like, why did you make that investment? Like, that's and it's not like dogs are cheap, because like get a purebred, golden lab over here, and it's like $1,000. And so you make this big investment to be like, my kid lost interest in it, so we'll just give her away.
And puppies are hard. Like, there was a lot of times when like I got him where I was like, holy shit, what did I do? Like, what a huge mistake. It's like having a kid. You can't go out after work. You have to like come back and spend time with him and train him, and they bite you back. So there was lots of times where I was like, not that I gotta get rid of him, but I was like, this is too much. Yeah. What have I done?
And then
now
you
I feel that way too.
and then they like at some point, like everything kind of like melds together, and then you're like, oh man, I love this. This is like the greatest thing of all time. Like, so with Duke, right? My first dog, well, I don't say my first dog, that's not fair, but because I've had tons of dogs, but he was my first dog. And with Duke, it took Duke like 6 or 7 years to adopt my daughter into his pack, right? And it just happened at the most random time. Like, my daughter was just laying on the couch, and then Duke just jumped on the backside of her and just kind of put his paw over the top and laid down and put, like, it looked like he was like hugging her. I was like, this is the first time I've seen this happen. And I was like, that is, and I remember taking a photo of it, and I was like, this is like one of the coolest moments to me. And I remember I've had moments where like my daughter would be laying on my dog and they'd be on the couch together, and that's one thing. But when he jumped in her lap, I was like, yo, that's a whole different ballgame now.
Yeah. So cute.
So we are talking about dogs, but this is a wrestling podcast. So I gotta ask, how did you get into the sport?
I honestly, through family, my sister is a wrestler. She met a wrestler and married a wrestler, so she got into wrestling, and then I was just kind of like, oh, I love wrestling. I didn't know that was something that I could do, so they kind of helped me get into wrestling. They're out in Vancouver. So yeah, they helped me get into wrestling out here in Edmonton, and kind of showed me where to go, where to start out, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like people in the United States, like when it comes to wrestling and it comes to Canada, all we talk about is the dungeon. Like, that's the only place people refer to.
Yeah.
And by all means, like, yeah, plastic school. But I was like, man, that's all we talk about.
I know, yeah. I've never obviously been too old. I'm going to put him outside, but we'll walk and talk. Yeah, I've never been to the dungeon, obviously. I've seen videos, and it's scary looking. Like, I watched that one video. I don't remember what it was on, but like Stu Hart's like stretching out this guy, and it's terrifying.
But you know what? Like, I don't know. I feel like that family, they put out a couple Hall of Famers,
Oh,
just a few.
Yeah, they kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah, I guess kind of train a few people to be like really, really good. I don't know. It's
What it
random. So seeing that you've been around for a little bit in the business, I'm sure you have one of these things, and I definitely want to ask, what's the worst bump you've taken?
The worst, like the most painful or the scariest?
Why not all of them?
Honestly, the most scariest bumps end up being like the easiest and best bumps to take, I'm finding. Honestly, I think the one that took me like the longest to be like, okay, I can do this was doing like a Rana off the top ropes to somebody. And it's the easiest like move to give. But to me, like sitting up on somebody's shoulders from that high, because I'm not brave. I'm not like, I'm not a daredevil. I'm not a risk taker. So that was probably the scariest. Um, yeah, I don't know about the worst bump I've ever taken. Honestly, I separated my shoulder kind of taking an arm drag. Like, so that was probably the worst bump I ever took. It hurt so bad.
Yeah, it's crazy because like it's always like the little like I don't want to say easiest like the rolls that tend to like be the things that like do you in. People who pay attention know that I tore my abdomen doing a 3/4 roll or a lucha roll or like shoulder rolls. Everybody knows them by different names.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I was doing a shoulder roll and I did it instead of doing with the same arm, same knee, I did it with the opposite knee and opposite
Oh,
arm. And I just turned just right and just
you
tore
tore
the
your
muscle.
abdomen?
Yeah, it was bad. And everybody thought like I did something else. They're like, "Oh, he just, he smashed his balls together. Oh, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "No, dude." I was like, "It hurts to sit up. It hurts to lay down. It
Oh my
hurts to try to
God.
walk. Like this
How
is
long did
not
that take to heal?
I forget it was like 8 to 10 weeks.
Oh my God, that must have been so painful.
It was
You
so
got
here's the crazy
isolated.
Yeah, so here's the crazy part, right? So I ended up leaving. I went to the doctor. They thought like I had a sports hernia, right? And that by rights that normally would have been. Um and so the next day I drove back up to practice. I didn't practice, right? I just went up to my notebook, just started taking notes because I was like, listen, like I'm hurt. I can't do anything, but I'm just gonna take mental reps. So that's all I did for 8 weeks. The worst part was I was supposed to debut at a promotion like 2 weeks later, and because I was hurt, like I didn't get that opportunity. So I was pissed. But
Yeah.
but yeah, but it ended up working out for the better because like I ended up getting like a lot of mental reps in. My surgeon, the guy that was supposed to be my surgeon, uh followed me on Twitter. Thanks. And then yeah, then I ended up getting to debut a couple months later, and like it ended up working out for the better part. So I was happy.
Yeah, my physiotherapist loves that I'm a wrestler. I think I give him lots of money. But he's like, he hasn't been to a match yet, but he's always like trying to get his whole office to come and everything. He just thinks it's so cool.
I I come to find that out, like a lot of people tell me all the time. They're like, "Man, when's the next time you're going to be in town so I can check you out?" And mind you, I live in Maryland, and they're like, "Man, I totally want to come watch the show." I'm like, "Dude, I am booked more outside of Maryland than I am in Maryland."
Same.
It's
Yeah.
the worst.
There's one weekend a month you can check me out in Edmonton, but that's about it.
Yeah, somebody was like, "Where are you at?" They're like, "Hey, when's the next time you're gonna be in Maryland?" I was like, "I don't know, September 24th." And they're like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, "I'm not really even on that show. I'm just like there." But they're like, "Well, when are you wrestling?" I was like, "Bro, I wrestled like just this last weekend." So full transparency for people who are wondering, I just made my IWTV debut on with Invictus Pro Wrestling out of New Jersey. And
Very
like I
cool.
wrestle out of Delaware and I wrestled out of Pennsylvania and I wrestle in West Virginia. And I'm like, yo, I travel around, but Maryland seems to be the one place I just can't get booked in. And I'm like, sorry, like it's
Yeah.
not my fault.
Wait, what's IWTV?
Independent wrestling television.
Okay.
So if you guys go check it out, iwtv.com, you guys can sign up. It's like $10 a month, or you can do like the full year for $100. So, and you can watch all the independent wrestling that you want all around the US and I think worldwide too, depending. But GCW runs a lot of their shows out of on IWTV. You get Invictus, C3W out of DC, of let's see, Fight Club Pro Wrestling. There's a lot of different promotions that put their stuff up. So House of Glory, which is actually really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So let's hop in. We all have these, and I know my love, but what is your post-match snack, post-match meal?
Usually, like, if we go out somewhere, we just go, like, honestly, somewhere fast food, because it's always so late, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, very rarely do we get to go to a restaurant to sit down. It used to be like, I don't know if you've ever heard of these restaurants. It's called Boston Pizza. Very
No,
Canadian.
delicious though.
You know what? It's not that good. It's like this like big Canadian chain. We used to go there all the time, but kind of lately we've just been going like fast food and then go to somebody's house and sit around and like watch wrestling and eat.
That actually doesn't sound that bad of an idea. I mean, I might have
Kind
to
of,
do that one
yeah.
day. Like,
It's a way to like wind down. Sometimes I want to go out and like have a good time, but then other times I'm just like, I'm really tired. Let's go chill. Because I'm old. Like, I don't got a lot in my tank.
I started old, and like I'm well aware, like my shelf life for the sport that I love with all my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's not that much longer, and I'm like, all right, what else can I transition to so I can stay around and just like
Wow.
be the weird old guy that's like hanging on.
It's tough. No, it's tough to think about though, because I love wrestling so much and I love the community, but kind of same, like I'm almost 40 and like I don't know how much longer I can do this. So it's like thinking about like I'm gonna miss it when I can't do it anymore and I don't know what else I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I was telling a couple of my friends, I was like, listen, because I'm turning 37 next next week. And I was like, this I know that I have, if I want to make it to anywhere and make a huge impact, right? I have like maybe 5 years. Because
Hmm.
I started at 35. So I was like, I have 5 years. That's it. That's it. And if I want to make anything, that's it. And then at 5 years, kind of just straggle around, just kind of do whatever I want to do. But I was like, 10 years, that's it. That's all I got in the tank. I know I do. So I'm like,
Yeah.
let me take care of my body now. Let me get all the stuff done, like continue like growing and understanding the sport. But I know like when I'm done, like that's kind of it. Maybe I can do like a sporadic match here and there, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not hanging my hat on anything. So let's talk about this. What's one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn being in the business?
Um, Honestly, I think the hardest lesson I had to learn was like, I think of wrestling as a team thing, like we train as a team and um me and like my friends even wrestle as a team, we travel as a team. And I think the toughest thing I learned was that some people don't, and they're really just in it for themselves. And they don't appreciate what the whole like group and what everybody can bring to the table. And just kind of learning that people are kind of snaky in wrestling sometimes. Not everybody, but there's like this weird cutthroat aspect to wrestling where it gets like competitive in all the wrong ways and all the wrong places. So that was really hard for me because I'm just not like that. And I've never been like that in anything that I do. So it was kind of a tough pill to swallow to be like, oh, you're actually not a good person. And you don't have my best interests at heart. So,
I think that's the hardest part is that you have to realize that while everybody's like everybody's like on the same team of like, hey, we're in this to give the fans like this great experience, there's only so many spots, and so people are always fighting for these spots and like back and like forth. And then sometimes some people, and I don't want to say it like this, but some people play dirty. Like they're
Mhm.
not just a heel as a character, they're a heel in real life. And they just they will snake you out in a minute. Like
Yeah.
I know, I just not that I'm gonna put names, but there was a situation that happened where it was between like two people, and the promoter really didn't have like the budget to take both of them on. So one guy totally undercut the other dude and was like, "I'll work for like I think it was like $10 less or something like that," and the promoter took it, and I was like, "Bruh." That's crazy, and it happens all the time from what I was understanding. I thought it was just, like, this one incident, but no, 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 it was like this I guess it happens all the time. I was like, "Damn, that's crazy."
Yeah. But like another thing, not all the time, but like I'm kind of seeing like people pick up on it sooner or later. You know what I mean? Like good people are good people at the end of the day, and shitty people are shitty people, and people are going to see it. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because in my eyes, there's so much wrestling. There's so much wrestling to go around. And like a high tide floats all boats. So like the better everybody does, the better we're all gonna do. Like, so I just never understood, you know, the real like snaky part of wrestling.
Yeah. I always think it's, like, crazy because like, you just look at Maryland alone, right? We have, like, Maryland Championship Wrestling, MCW, ACW, Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, EWA. Like, there's a lot of promotions in the state, and it's like,
Hmm.
sometimes what I think is crazy is that this whole aspect of if you work for them, you can't work for us kind of deal. And it's like, yo, like, why not? Like, I don't. That's like, listen, I know, like, and people will be like, well, you'll see when you get, in this business a lot longer. I'm like, listen, okay, but in the meantime, like, it shouldn't be that way. You could be like, hey, you can come work for me, and you may put over my guy, which at my stage of the career, which has only been like my second year, I'm like, fine, whatever. I just want to work. Like,
Yeah.
let me handle business, right? And I like to think myself as like the ultimate team player. Like, I'll fill whatever role you need, but at the end of the day,
Hmm.
like, don't try to think that you're gonna be. Don't put the whole, well, if you work for me, you can't work for them. Like, bet that won't work for either, and I'll just keep it pushing.
Yeah. Alberta has a bit of that going on too. And it's unfortunate because, I don't get booked in certain promotions because I work for other promotions. And like, it's kind of their loss. Like,
Yeah,
sorry, but like, I make your show better. I will make your show better. And if you don't appreciate it or you don't see it, like, I don't, I'm cool.
yeah. So, what kind of advice would you give to like up and coming wrestlers?
I mean, I still feel like I'm an up and coming wrestler. Um, but honestly, just to like try things that you don't think that you can do, because that's been like the biggest lesson I've learned is just um, to push myself and think past what I think my limitations are. Because I got into wrestling super late, like you, and I was never really sporty. I never got into like anything, so I never thought I could do anything. So I kind of like found a really good trainer, Michael Richard Blaze, who was like, let's try everything. Some of it'll stick and some of it won't. Um, and yeah, just like push yourself and try new things.
I definitely like that. I definitely think that explore all options, and like you said, you just hit it perfectly on the net. Like, some things are gonna work, some things aren't. And those things that don't work, don't worry about them. Just keep it pushing. Just there's other
Yeah,
things out there to
exactly.
do. I was like,
Hmm.
I came into this whole idea that I wanted to be like this like technical type wrestler, and found a trainer who trains in lucha. And I was like, all right, bet. I guess we're gonna try this too. And so
Yeah.
like I just happen to find a bunch of friends who can do everything pretty well. So it's a lot of fun to be able
Mhm.
to like pick their brains and learn how to do like technical holds. But then like here I am trying to do like a 450 like off the top rope, and I'm like, We're getting this.
I mean, I'm just not good at everything and I'm not going to be good at everything. So I just like try to figure out the things that I am good at so I can make those even better. Because like I don't have to be good at everything. Some people are,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not me.
Some people are meant to be good at everything.
Yeah.
So, one last question I have before we hop into the second best segment of this podcast. Give me one do and one don't of the locker room.
One do and one don't. I think definitely do be like open and available to like meet new people and talk to everybody. Because like I've seen people in locker rooms who just kind of stay to themselves, and it's kind of nerve-wracking going into new locker rooms and meeting new people because you know we're old and it's hard to make friends when you're old. But I think just like be open to meeting new people and like try to talk to everybody because everybody's got something to share. Like it doesn't matter their level of like, if they're a vet or if they're brand new, like just try to get to know everybody and be super respectful. And I think don't shit talk in the locker room. Like don't shit talk other people. One, it's rude. And two, like you never know who's listening and it'll get back to them. I've known people who have shit talked other wrestlers and they didn't realize that like their friend, you don't know who people know.
Right.
And so they were actually like not removed from a show, but they weren't booked on a show because they were, people don't want that kind of energy in their locker room. And like, if you're going to shit talk this person, how do you know what, like, yeah, just don't shit talk. Don't be an asshole. Yeah.
I like
That's
that.
my
I like that
biggest
because
advice. I hate shit talkers. I'm a shit talker. Don't get me wrong. I'm a shit talker, but I keep it with my friends and, we shit talk well away from the show. You know what I mean? Like, because people are going to talk about other people and it's fun to vent and it's fun to, we're all human, but just don't do it in the locker room.
well, I tell everybody, I'm like, it's like so like this podcast has like opened my eyes to one thing, right? Is that no matter who I get to know, right? I'm always like one link from somebody who's somewhere that I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say that because like my trainer, his trainer was Ruckus, right? GCW, CZW, legend, Hall of Fame, Indie Hall of Famer, for 2022. And it's like, damn, if it's that close, how much closer is everything else, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like you may know this person who may know that person in the WWE or that person in AEW or that person in Impact. And it's like the moment you put yourself in a bad light, all that person has to say is one word and that's it. Like you are just
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's hop into the second best segment of the 3 Count podcast. Probably trying to figure out what the first is. It's right there. It's actually the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find sometimes on our debate shows because recently, there's a lot of wrestling and a lot of interviews to do and a lot of other stuff going on. So I can't always do a top 10. But this is the 3 Count podcast, 10 count questions. And Ms. Taryn, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever your answer is your answer.
Okay. Okay. I'm kind of nervous, but okay.
We're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. And in the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Oh, honestly, I knew these were going to be wrestling questions. I'm going to go, I don't know, Raw.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Twister.
Hey, let's go. I love that. Favorite type of maple syrup?
Favorite type of maple syrup? Are there types of maple syrup?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I was looking up different labels for some reason. I don't know why I was doing that.
Oh, I don't know. I just like all maple syrup.
There we go. I love it. Favorite actor?
Oh, favorite, and it has to be fast. Okay, favorite actor. Mm, Um, that's a really. I literally can't even think of one actor now. It's too much pressure. Who's your favorite actor? Any
Oh, so anybody
inspiration?
who so I will be 100%. My character is a mercenary who is believed like on the comedy side who breaks the fourth wall. So I'm very much a Deadpool fan, and so Ryan Reynolds is my guy.
Okay, he's good. Favorite actor. Favorite actor. I can't think of one right now.
All right, we'll come back to it.
Yes.
Marvel or DC?
Oh, I don't know. I guess Marvel. DC seems dark.
I like it. I like it. Favorite cartoon?
Archer.
I
Bob's
love
Burgers.
Bob's Burger is a good one too. Gabby Ortiz, if you're watching this, I know you just love that answer too. Uh, is it Moraine Lake or Lake Louise?
Mmm. Lake Louise. No,
Okay.
Marine Lake's beautiful. No.
I just see like not all these are gonna be wrestling questions. Favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast. Okay, so I just recently, I'm addicted to this podcast. I just did the show with Zicky Dice, and we were talking about podcasts at dinner after, and he got me onto this podcast called, uh, oh, damn it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's about, did you ever hear about the Kristen Smart murders? Your
Yes.
Own Backyard, it's called Your Own Backyard.
Yes.
So it's like this podcast that talks about the entire case, and because it's gone cold for 26 years. But they kind of had a guy that they think that they knew it was, and I think that it's him too. And now they have enough evidence and stuff, and especially through the podcast, like the podcast helped, kind of like Serial, helped find like new evidence and like bring evidence forward, and people were starting to come forward. So now the podcast is carried on into the trial. So it gives you like recaps of the trial as well, because like you just get so invested listening to the podcast that you want this guy to go to jail forever because he's such a piece of shit. It's really good. I'm addicted to it. I can't wait. Like I'm always waiting for the next like trial episodes. So that, and also this Real Housewives recap podcast called Bitch Sesh.
Yes.
It's
I've heard about
awesome.
this podcast.
Oh
I
my god.
haven't checked it out myself, but I've definitely heard about it. So I've
You like
definitely
the Real Housewives?
So my wife is a massive fan of the Real Housewives, and what makes it funny is that, okay, so not that we're pausing on the timer, but we're gonna pause on the timer because we can talk about this. So, they always talk about in the locker room. There's always like those six characters you're guaranteed to find in the locker room, right? So like the wrestler type, right? That's like I'm the wrestler, and then there's always like the shitty bad guy that's like, I'm like better than everybody here, right? The
Yeah.
cocky asshole. There's always the military guy, right? Just like always like on the hunt, or like the assassin type, right? The sports guy, the genius, and then there's always like the I don't want to say bitchy one, but it's pretty much like a bitchy one. Anyway, but you find these six characters that are like in every locker room. And when I look
Mhm.
at the Real Housewives, that's all I see. I see like the six characters. So I was telling my wife, I was like, I see why you love the Real Housewives. And she's like, why? I was like, for the same reason I love wrestling. Because it's turn your brain off trash. You're
Mhm.
just watching and you just enjoy because you're like, hey, yo, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
So whether it's watching Teresa or
Okay.
Nene or whoever, right, from whether it's
Yeah.
Orange County or Potomac, right, or Jersey to Georgia, Atlanta, it's so wild to me to see like the same like three characters in
Mhm.
every show, and I'm like, this is wrestling. And then they try to throw like these like mundane storylines at you, and for some reason they always go on vacation somewhere, and
You
it's just
have
to me
to.
it's like it's the same show, it's the same storylines recycled over and over. It's like, this is wrestling. Like,
Yeah, it is. But it's so awesome because there's like casting involved and there's producers
yeah.
but it, like you said, it's mind numbing, which is what I love. Like I love to turn my brain off.
And I'm always catching myself like talking shit. I'm just like, Joe Judas, I can't believe you, bro.
Oh, he's
So
such a piece of shit.
Or I'm like watching, I'm like, damn, I really feel for like Katrina. I'm like, yo, like I'm like, I find myself like wrapped up in this too, and I'm like trying to watch wrestling at the same time, but I'm always like, damn, what's going on over here? Like,
It's so good. You got to get your wife to listen to Bitch Sesh. It's so good.
I have to do that. So nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Michael Richard Blaze, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my trainer and like a really good friend of mine and just a really, really hard worker. He's been on WWE. He's done extra work. He had like the squash match against Braun. And he's just like probably the best person I've met in wrestling, whereas he's the opposite of like every piece of shit you've ever met. He's so just nice and he wants everybody to succeed and he'll do anything for anybody. And yeah, he just opened up his own school here in Edmonton. So he's my nominee.
And so for you who are trying to get into the business and you're up in Edmonton, yo, hit it up. There you go.
Yeah,
And we'll probably put a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a link in there and we'll try to get you guys like looked up. Last question, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Definitely fuck. It's perfect. It's
Yeah.
the perfect word.
It fits all scenarios.
And
then you can put it in between words. I think that's the best part.
Oh, yeah. I love putting it in between words.
I love putting it into words.
Yeah, like re-fucking ridiculous.
Yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. Bet. Well, those are all my questions that I do have for you. So last thing I need is for you to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Yeah. So I was forced to get a Twitter. So I have a Twitter now. And I think it is TFA Wrestling. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. And on Instagram, I think it's Taryn from Accounting. I'm really bad at social media. That's like the hardest part of wrestling, but it's also the most important, or not the most, but it's like very important.
It is.
To like know social media.
Yeah, I'm really bad at it too, because like I'll be like, I'm always trying to update the videos and tell people like, hey, check it out. Like, you know, here, like for the 3 Count podcast, right? For our channel, right? I'm always on Instagram and on TikTok and Clapper, which is another social media site. But I'm always on those 3 channels, like updating all the videos as much as possible. Like, hey, here's what happened last night on Raw. Here's what happened last night on.
I see your stuff all the time.
Yeah. It's so much work. You know?
Honestly, even sometimes I'm like, oh, I gotta hit repost. Like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
It's like even just doing that, like repost is like the easiest thing in the world. But I also know that like promoters look at that and they see like, oh, this person's actually like invested in our company. They're liking our shit. They're reposting. They're like sharing it in their stories. And so it's like super important to do. And it helps like the company out, which helps you out. So.
Yeah. And it's like, and to be honest, like as much as I sit back and I look at other companies, I'm just like, I don't really want to do this, but it's like, it's 3 seconds, but it helps out them so much. And you're like, all right. That's why I'm always telling people like, hey, with us, like just like our video or just share it with a friend, right? Like you may not like wrestling, but you probably have a friend out there who loves wrestling. So like, you know, tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bet. So there you have it. She gave you her handle. She told you where you can find her or attempt to find her, right? So
I keep it a mystery. You're gonna have to do a little bit of work yourself.
yeah, that's what we like to do. Be suspicious and
Yeah.
mysterious. So, like every good part of a wrestling match, we got to take this home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Into Ring. And like I said, I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's into ring. And you see her right there. It is Taryn from accounting, checking the books. But you know what that means. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're following all of our social media platforms. They're right here on the bottom. And if you guys don't know, you guys can just go look it up. 3 Count Pod. If you guys you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you guys are also following us on Apple Podcasts, giving us those 5-star reviews. And then you're also following us on Spotify, giving us reviews there. Or you're at least on prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, getting our merch. You're either doing all that stuff and you're sharing with your friends and telling them about how cool this podcast is, or you're really just waiting for this one to end. You're waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to.
Yeah.
Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there. Find us at the 3 Count _ pod. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count pod. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com. Give us a subscribe. Turn the bell on. Turn the notifications. Leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count podcast. And in there, you can leave us a message and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count podcast also has merchandise. Oh, at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.